You're listening to Big World Network.
Champions, Angel of Light, written by David Prosser, read by Jim McGovern. Warning: although there is no material subject matter within that couldn't be found in any general bookstore with no age constraint, this series is rated 18 and contains adult situations and content. Lucian, wake up! The girl's shrill voice accompanied the violent shaking of my bed. You told me you were going to take me up today. You promised. You said last week. Stacy, we'll go up my plane next Saturday. Well, it's Saturday, and you're still in bed. First of all, I replied huskily from my newly lost sleep, it's not my plane. Second, stop shaking the bed. I opened my eyes and found myself staring into the hazel orbs that belonged to my little sister, a 9-year-old with bouncy golden curls and enough energy to power up Metropolis. I pushed her away, a tad rough. Gah! Why are you so close to me? That's creepy. She ran from my room crying, her hair bouncing and arms flailing. She was dressed in the blue jumper she wore when she pretended to be a pilot. I had to stop allowing her to come over on weekends. Weekends were mine. The plane wasn't. The plane belonged to the government. I just happened to fly it, and better than most. Swinging my foot around to hang over the edge of the bed, I stared at the one thing that held me back. My prosthetic. Sitting on the nightstand was a titanium and plastic knee and foot that fit onto the stub of a left leg. Shoving the covers off, I begrudgingly equipped the medical wonder. A real medical miracle would have been to save my fucking leg, I grumbled as I got up and out of the bed shakily. At 28, I should not be a cripple. I grabbed my pants to add to my boxers and undershirt, and went into the hall. Stacy? Where did you go, Stacy? Not talking to you, she called from the living area. Well, she is watching TV. Good. That would let me take a bath and eat before she got all worked up about the plane thing again. I'd make her a nice spaghetti dinner later, her favorite. Walking down the tiny hall, I noticed something that I had never noticed before. There was a Navy flag on my wall. I put it there, but behind the flag, for a moment, I saw what looked like a door. When I looked again, it was gone. It's just too early. I haven't had my coffee yet. I stepped into the bathroom and closed the door. The lights flickered. Bad wiring in the old place. Water splashed into the tub when I turned on the faucets. Waiting in silence, I stared at the crucifix on the wall. I remembered when Grammy gave that to me at my confirmation. Long since having lost my faith, I wondered why it was still there. I removed my leg and sat down in the warm water of the tub. The soothing liquid washed over me and I soaked. Thoughts of the past filled my head, depressing me to the point of tears. I wanted to walk again, damn it. Normally. I wanted a chance to fix the things that had gone wrong. I thought I heard a click at the door. Looking over, I saw the handle turn slightly, then stop. Damn it, Stacy, I'm in here. Go watch TV. The handle slid back to its original position. After my bath, I crawled out and toweled off. I picked up my leg and put it back on, followed by my pants. The handle clicked again, and the door opened a tiny crack, then abruptly closed again. I tore open the door and was about to scream at Stacy that we weren't going flying when my voice died in my throat. I was no longer in my apartment. I stared at a wasteland that had once been a city. Gray flakes of ash flew about, blurring my vision. Occasional spurts of fire and earth erupted from portions of the landscape, violently expelling pent-up energies. Fiery winds blew debris across cracked roads. Skeletal remains of buildings stood rusting like tombstones over a dead landscape. Only it wasn't dead. I saw people moving. They were milling about and walking between ruined cars and buildings. My mind froze. This could not be real. I must have fallen asleep in the tub. In a daze, I put my undershirt back on and looked for a way down, as I was 4 stories up with no visible staircase. After looking around for what seemed like an hour, I found a ladder leading to what appeared to be ground level. The ladder was made of bones and looked terribly fragile. I turned to go back to my bathroom instead, but there was no door, just a crumbling wall. Even though I knew none of this could be real, I had the awful feeling that I had to find Stacy. I had to find my way home. I started slowly down the ladder, one foot, then the prosthetic, then my foot again. The ladder had every bone I could think of, and some I didn't recognize. Skulls stared at me with sightless eyes and constant grins. Femurs and ribs dripped with ooze and cracked at the touch. Finally, I made it to what was left of the street. The air was hot and suffocating, more so than when I was above it all. I couldn't smell it before, but now brimstone was in the air. The ground was packed and dry. Dust blew around me as I walked down what used to be a sidewalk, now just cracked and burned concrete, identical to the streets. I advanced toward where I saw people milling about. Maybe one of them had seen Stacy? I crested a small hill and looked down the street at an overturned taxi and a burning streetcar in the middle of the road. Buildings were rubble, and bodies hung out of the streetcar. They were screaming. I started to run to help them when I noticed the others gathering around the car. They were not walking, but crawling, and they had no eyes. Blood flowed from the empty sockets, and their mouths drank in the crimson fluid between rows of sharp fangs. I stopped dead in my tracks and stared in sheer terror. I had no voice to scream. Run! Run now and don't look back. Find Stacy and run home. Lucian, you need to wake up. You're dreaming. You have to be dreaming. This must be some damn nightmare from a book you read. My mind screamed, but I was paralyzed. I felt the heat from the flames. I heard the cries of the trapped people. I could see their faces, young, old, men, women, children, black, white, and their faces twisted in the constant wail of pure, unending agony. I couldn't look away until I saw one of the crawlers draw closer to me. It sniffed the air while its blood-soaked tongue writhed about, smearing its face in red. The mane of white hair shook as this thing howled at the burning sky. The rest of the crawlers turned their heads, some completely backwards in my direction. "Oh shit," I said, and started running back towards the ladder. When I turned around, I was facing the streetcar again. This time closer, and those things were clawing their way towards me. I couldn't move. I had fire to my back, with hands reaching out at me, these things in front of me, and nowhere to run. I reached into the abyss of my mind and searched inwards to find some solace from this nightmare. The only thing I found was the adrenaline pumping into my thighs and arms with a command word written in green neon in the recesses of my brain. Charge. I ran right at the crawlers, my titanium legs smashing one of their heads when I used him as a vault ramp. The rest clawed at me while I flew through the air. They struck nothing but my shadow. When I landed, however, it was a different story. I landed on my prosthetic, and the strap that held the damn thing on snapped. I tumbled to the ground, slammed my face in concrete, and skidded my arms along the ground. Skin ripped, and I heard a distinctive crack from my left hand. Hot sticky liquid wet my cheek and palms, and fiery pain burned into my skin. The crawlers went mad at this and screeched with delight. The food was fresh, and I was it. I made an effort to half crawl, half hop away, using my right arm as a balance and keeping my left arm in. Without my prosthetic, I knew I couldn't get away from these things. They closed the distance rapidly. Bracing myself against another car, I turned and tried to find something to fight them off. A pit in my stomach threatened to swallow me whole when I came up short. A meter away, the crawler stopped. I found out why very quickly. The ground where I had hit began to crack. A chasm opened abruptly, and the concrete I was on sledded down into a dark abyss. I could still hear gurgling of those things over the screams above my head as the car fell into place, neatly corking the pit. Okay, now I'm in the dark, with a half leg and a broken wrist. I still have no idea where I am, where I'm going, or where Stacy is. On the upside, I can't see. On the downside, I can't see. This makes my military training look easy. I began to crawl forward. Concrete rubble scraped my sides, and the occasional slip with my left wrist resulted in blinding pain, proving I was not dreaming. I am not dreaming. This is real. Drip, drip, drip. It felt like the sewers. That accounted for the smell of decay, or not, and there was the sound of some liquid dripping from the ceiling. Darkness triggered feelings of extreme claustrophobia. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't see. Rot was all around me. Things skittering in the dark made me jump every so often. I couldn't take it any more. "Where am I?" "Where are you?" replied a husky voice in the dark, a voice of non-human origin. The voice laughed, a dark, terrible sound born of the inky blackness that surrounded me. "Who's there?" I cautiously asked, stopping my advance. Suddenly, a rush of air came from behind me, a deafening wind that completely disoriented me. I couldn't see, I couldn't hear, I couldn't move, I couldn't smell. Paralyzed, I could only sit and wait for what came next. I felt myself being pushed. I hurtled through the darkness at a breakneck speed. The ride ended abruptly as I fired out of the tube like a bullet from a gun. I fell. The next thing I remembered was a massive splash and water all around me. I drifted beneath the surface, suffocating in the water. The icy chill struck me to the core. My muscles screamed in protest as I feebly pulled myself up to the surface. The stark difference between the icy dark embrace of the water and where I emerged was night and day. At first, I couldn't see. The bright light was an amazing contrast to the darkness I had just experienced. I was in a 30-foot circular pool set in the most beautiful room I had ever seen. Pillars stood every several yards near the walls. The creamy alabaster walls and floor reflected the flames from braziers around the pool. The scent of sweet jasmine and honeysuckle incense filled the air. I swam to the edge of the pool and painfully pulled myself onto a step. Taking a second look, I noticed a large 4-poster bed on the left side of the room from where I sat. On the right was a door. "Come and lie with me, traveler," said a low female voice from the bed. A lady with jet black hair sat up in the bed. She was the most beautiful woman I had ever seen. Her hair fell around her shoulders, with a few strands across her face. Her smile was innocent and yet seductive. Green eyes peered at me intently. Freckles graced her face, with an additional light dusting across her shoulders. She lay on the bed, covered in nothing but a sheet, which fell from her chest when she sat up, revealing a body that looked sculpted by artesian hands from the purest marble. I felt myself drawn to her. I crawled up the next 3 steps. "You are hurt. Let me nurse you back to health. Lie with me, and let your fear wash away as my pool washed your body." Her voice was velvet against my ears. Her creamy skin appeared so soft, I wanted to rub against it, feel the warmth. I saw that the pool had washed all of the grime and dirt from my now ripped pants and undershirt. The room was intoxicating, her essence a drug to which I was immediately addicted. I didn't want to leave, and why should I? I didn't remember where I was, but it didn't matter. Who was I trying to find? It must have been this magnificent beauty. I crawled closer to her bed. She gestured to me, beckoning my presence. I tried to climb into her bed, but my left hand gave out from under me, my body hitting the floor with a painful thud. Pain, my wrist, my head. Why is my shirt torn? Stacy, where is Stacy? My mind suddenly raced. Real? None of it was real. This is a trap. I know it's a trap. Yes, yes, it is, little human. I offered you a pleasurable end for your life. You chose pain. She shrieked as her whole form changed. From the beautiful statue emerged the singularly most hideous creature I had ever seen. Her skin peeled back in large gashes. What skin was left turned to gray rotted flesh. Her eyes whitened to watery milk, and her mouth became a gaping maw of razors. Her hands morphed into talons, dripping with green fluid. Her hair transformed to thin white wisps. I looked around the room, scrambling backwards. Smeared with blood, the white marble of the wall changed, as if someone had opened a vial of ink and poured from the ceiling, turning it to jet. The pillars bore chains with manacled bodies. In some cases only pieces of the victims still hung. The pool was a fetid pit of sewage, and I was covered in it from the swim. The smell of rotten flesh and burning meat filled the air. Braziers held arms and legs on spits, roasting, screeching. The she-bitch leapt at me with her claws. Razor talons scratched my right side. Claws raked my flesh, and blood sprayed the walls and floor. I screamed as the sewage seeped into my wounds. Falling further back, I slid down the steps, stopping inches away from plunging into the disgusting pit a second time. The hag stood in full grotesque horror. Staring at me with a smile not meant to be seen by human eyes, she gloated over me. The ichor from her talons struck me again, and I was getting woozier by the minute. I felt blood and entrails slip between my fingers as I tried to compress the wound. She reached for my throat with those talons. The room spun. I couldn't tell if it was lack of blood or poison at work. What I could feel was her vice-like claw around my neck and my pulse slowing. I saw nothing but black as I collapsed. Then the world was white. I could hear screaming mixed with the dropped speech of some other person. I blinked in and out of consciousness. Blood, sweat, tears, excrement, and urine. I was soiled with these, mine and others. I didn't think I was still wearing a shirt. I was moving, but I didn't know how. I had failed Stacy. I was going to die in hell, and I could do nothing to help my sister. My comeuppance was at hand. When my vision returned, to my disbelief, I was breathing. A bandage stayed the bleeding in my side, and my wrist bore a splint. I looked around, guardedly, ready to move should something else go wrong. I was resting on an impossibly large stairway. Below me stretched miles of stairs. To my left and right was an immediate drop to the ground, infinity far below. I carefully turned around and felt wind in my face. The cold zephyrs toyed with my hair and dried my eyes. In front of me was a massive black throne carved from a single stone block, too large for any person to sit on and fit. I crawled up the last 5 or 6 steps cautiously. I must be dead. No, Lucian, you are not dead, yet. Well, not completely. A husky voice filled the air around me. How do you know my thoughts? I asked cautiously, pulling myself up the base of the throne. Climb the throne and see. I struggled, edging myself up on one leg, bracing painfully against the throne. The massive chair bore grotesque carvings, bodies being eaten, people being tortured, demons laughing, angels being crucified, and hags ripping the skin off children. I let my eyes go out of focus so I could find the strength to climb. I found handholds and began my ascent. My wrist did not seem to bother me so badly. My whole body hurt, however, as though I had been in a car accident. I climbed and climbed and climbed until I reached the chair seat and pulled myself up. I lay on my back, catching my breath. There was no ceiling, but a swirling inferno far above me, as if I was looking into a hurricane of fire. When I sat up and looked to see what it was in the chair, I almost passed out from shock. There was a tiny table with chairs set up in the middle of the throne seat. The table was set for 6, with a tea set and cookies. At 4 of the chairs sat small stuffed animals. One chair was empty. Seated at the other was a little girl with blonde curls. "Hello, Lucian," Stacy greeted, not looking up from her tea set. "Have you enjoyed the journey?" "What the fuck? Stacy, is that you?" "Of course. Or do you not remember your little sister?" That's when it hit me. I don't have a little sister. "Of course you don't, silly. You died 3 years ago from complications in the weeks following your leg amputation. You should know who I am, though. Our names are similar, after all." Lucifer, Prince of Darkness and Father of Lies. Although I was not expecting the curls, I wasn't expecting to end up in hell. "You shot down a passenger plane by accident. You killed innocent people. You killed people in general, most of them good. If I recall from your service record, you butchered an entire Palestinian village, granted with my influence and the help of the Mossad. But you pulled the trigger. And don't forget when you were in the Navy, your trip to Hong Kong and the incident with the young woman. She was on her way home and you hit her with your rental car, driving drunk. What did you expect would happen?" Then her body went limp, like one of her dolls, and fell onto the plate of cookies. A voice boomed around me, 1,000 voices at once, none of them human. "I am glad that you remembered your Catholic rhetoric, though. So nice to be addressed so formally." The laugh made me roll on the throne in agony. "Oh, get up, you pussy. I brought you here for a reason. Here, this should help." The beast gave me back my leg, my real one. For the first time in 3 years, I stood on both feet and could feel it. You work for me now, boy. I will place you among the living. Hence you are not completely dead yet. Do not pass go. Do not collect $200. Report to my ambassador, Thamus, and he will make sure you do as you are told. People are challenging my throne as I challenge his. You will prevent their success. Now go. I woke up in my apartment, the same one I had lived in for 3 years. It had all been a dream. I would never eat anchovy pizza before bed again. I sat up and swung my legs around. Legs. I woke up with my real legs. I looked at the clock. 3 in the morning. I wouldn't be able to sleep now. I got up and put on my bathrobe, wincing from the claw wounds still on my side. I walked to the kitchen to get a drink of water, and something bolted from the shadows. A dark figure, there and gone, ran out the back door. I didn't have a back door. There was a note on the kitchen table. See you at Luigi's, 7 o'clock. Signed, T. In blood.
Music by Kevin MacLeod.
You're listening to Big World Network.